Good morning, folks. Hey, wow, looks like we are live, although it's me. It's not we, technically. It's me and you all. I'm not joined by my good buddy, Mr. Rich Brown, this morning. Unfortunately, he has had an internet issue or Facebook issue, so he's not jumping on the live stream this morning. But good morning. We'll give folks just a second to jump on. Looks like we got 9 or 10 people on already. Oh my gosh, that is awesome. Good morning. I see Chris is on. Thank you. I'm sure she's sharing. James, how are you? Folks, if you're joining me this morning, good morning. My name is Mike Seeklander. Of course, I am live on 3 different Facebook pages, the American Warrior Society Facebook page, my Shooting Performance Facebook page, and the IDPA Facebook page. Of course, today we're talking more PCC in conjunction with last week's show where we talked about the drop, drive, pull, press, the mount system, which I will do a quick refresher on today because, of course, I think that, we talk about something very quickly in transition. You jump on the Facebook Live and you watch it for a second, and then maybe you miss some of the key details. So if you would, give me a good audio and video check. I think I see almost 30 people on. If I have good audio and video, give me that 5x5 in the comments. And good morning to you if you're a coin member. Hey, coin member, put your coin member number in there. If you're an ACSS member or doing my PCC Mastery Program, which is one of today's show's sponsor, just type that in the comments and let me know where you're from and everything else. Good morning. Sounds like my sound is good to go. We got a bunch of people on. By the way, I would love to hit a viewer goal today. Last week, we had a viewer goal of 150. I'll go back to that same number. If we had 150, I'm going to give some free stuff away. Matter of fact, in terms of today's show sponsors, Precision Holsters is one of today's show sponsors. And I wanted to bring this on because I didn't have it last week. This is actually my signature line. So that's the Seeklander signature line of the fast holster. They also have a signature line for the Ultra Appendix and the Ultra holsters, which are the carry holsters. But this one is more of the competition holster. This one is actually for one of my SIG 320 variants. But what I wanted you to see was these beautiful stars and stripes that represent our beautiful country, the United States of America. When we came up with the pattern, I'm like, well, if I could do some sort of, this is actually kind of an age stars and stripes look. So if you want the Seeklander signature line, go to their website and you got to find the signature lines. Anyways, this is my PCC mag pouch. I'll show that off here in a second. All right, so let's jump right into this. Once again, we have almost 50 people on. Do me a favor, those of you who haven't clicked that share button, go ahead and click the share button. Let people know we're on. Next week's live stream, as you saw me go live for testing purposes yesterday, will happen in the Live Fire studio. So next week I'll be going live in the Live Fire studio. I look forward to that. It should be a fun show over there. We'll be talking about defensive rifles. So next week we start the defensive rifle cycle. So if you're interested in this rifle PCC stuff, I'm going to have my defensive rifles. I'm also going to have a defensive carbine that I have set up. It's a pistol caliber carbine in pistol length. It has a pistol arm brace on it, and I'm going to show you that. We'll talk about the differences between the two. So today's show, excuse me, allergies are going on. Today's show, of course, nothing happens without our safety briefing, and I want to make sure you are completely safe. So here's the deal. If you're going to dry fire or handle any firearms today with me, make sure that you have completely unloaded firearms and no live ammunition. I actually have 2 of my beautiful Wilson Combat AR-9G PCCs. I'm going to double check the chamber and the mag well on that one. That's got an unloaded and clear chamber. Let's go ahead and lock that bolt to the rear. I'll show you that blue beast here in a second. I call this the big Smurf, right? And then the second one, of course, is old trusty. This one is a little bit heavier gun. I'm going to check the chamber on this one as well. So that chamber is clear, mag well is empty, and I am good to go. So I've got 2 unloaded PCCs, and I have 1 magazine if we end up talking about potentially reloads or whatever else. This particular magazine has dummy rounds in it, so you can see the dummy rounds in the gun itself, okay? So please double check, make sure you have no live ammunition in the area you're in. Also, all safety rules apply. All of the 4 primary safety rules. Watch your muzzle direction, watch your trigger finger, know your target backstop and beyond, and of course, treat your guns as though they're loaded. If you're doing this with me, though, it's important that you understand that if you're dry firing in your home, wherever you are, you should have a safe backstop. So if something happens and you get distracted or you make the biggest mistake of your life and you end up firing a live round, which is a huge mistake on you, then that round goes into a safe backstop. Okay. So good morning, folks. We have a bunch of people on. Tony's on. Robert, good morning. Edward is on. How are you, man? I think your medical thing you had recently, Edward. I hope everything went well there. Mr. Mike Farmer. And it looks like Mike said the video went blurry for a second, so I apologize. I hope we have good video. I have all of my internet devices in my home shut off, so hopefully that works. James Tromley's on. Good morning. Akeen, how are you? Akeen Gali is on. Gil. Alan, hey, Frank, good to see you as well. Jason, wow. We've got a bunch of people on this morning. A lot of Coin members on this morning. Looks like a lot of ACSS members as well. Let me scroll down. Okay. All right. So we're going to get into the show, and I'll talk about today's show sponsors and gear and stuff like that. But the way I want this one to go is we can kind of go anywhere we want. I do want to talk real quickly about, the mount positions. I have my 2 different PCC setups. So if you missed last week's show and you want to talk a little bit about PCC setup, we can do that as well. And then I want to back away from the camera, and I want to talk about moving with a long gun. So, in terms of competitive PCC, it's a competitive context today, but moving with a long gun, whether it's a rifle or a PCC, it's really kind of the same. It's kind of the same thing. So what we'll talk about today will be applicable across the board for whatever weapon system you're actually using. Of course, we'll talk about that in context. And then also, last but not least, potentially, if we have the time today, excuse me, I have a portable barricade over here, and I wanted to potentially talk about maybe switching shoulders and why you would switch shoulders with the PCC. That said, hey, we can talk about anything you want to talk. We can do any kind of Q&A you want. I'll try to answer all the questions you can. Now, normally I would have Mr. Rich Brown feeding me some questions, and I can actually see the comments on the right side of my screen, not a problem whatsoever. But just be aware that if you ask a question or if you type a question in the comments there, and I miss it in the comments, because the comments are coming pretty fast, and I miss it, just retype your question, and no big deal. So anyways, good morning, Linda in Fort Worth. How are you? Will Parker, Montana is in the house. That is awesome. Looks like we got a bunch of people on. Okay, do me a favor. Click share a couple times real quick. Click like. Make the Facebook like us. Hey, good morning, Bob. How are you? Awesome. Nice to see you. And then I'm going to get into this, okay? So today's show sponsor is a few. Number one, the Precision Holsters Signature line. I showed that. There's a discount code in the comments, though. I've already posted that. So if you order any of these products, make sure you use the discount code. Also, the second product I wanted to show you, and I did a couple quick pictures of a grip system and a magwell system. The Technicall grip and magwell system that I put on my 1911 yesterday. I got a beautiful blue one from them. It actually looks a lot like the color of this particular PCC. It's actually a little bit brighter blue. But I didn't realize how much that color was attractive to me on my guns. Hey, we all have guns. I spend every day of my life training with guns and shooting and going to the range and doing different things and talking about guns and showing guns and doing videos of guns. So why not have a gun that you love how it looks, right? Not just love how it performs, but love how it looks as well. So this is one of my Wilson Combat AR-9Gs. Of course, as most of you probably know, Wilson Combat is one of my sponsors. But if you notice the magwell system on the gun, I'll hold it nice and close to the camera. This is the Technicall PCC magwell for our rifles, the AR-9 series. Technicall makes a specific magwell for a variety of different PCCs. So if you have a different PCC with a different lower, they probably make one for yours as well. But the Technicall magwell system is a big, open, flared out magwell system, right? In terms of our lowers, the Wilson Combat lowers are actually pretty open without the magwell itself. But this flared magwell allows me to do my loads and get the magazine, really fast in the gun. So if you're doing loads and trying to reload your PCC, or it's an unloaded start, you probably need a magwell, and I would totally check out the Technicall. If you're a 1911 shooter, you're getting ready for the single stack nationals like I am, you got to check out their magwell and grip system. And one of my followers on Instagram did not realize that magwell system is mounted to the gun by the grips, right? So you take the grips off and you can switch out their magwells. They have their carry magwell. You have the TGO series, which I think was influenced by Mr. Rob Latham, my good buddy. You have the full closed magwell system, but they have a variety of wells on the guns that are great. And you can switch out the colors of the grips, okay? So when we talk about competition handgun, again, I'll show you that magwell system. Anyways, check out a Technicall magwell. Use that discount code. I think it's 15. I think I put it in there. Seek 15 for 15% off. And these Technicall doesn't give discounts, just so you know. So the fact that you can get 15% off their products is unbelievable. They don't do sales. That's just not what they do. Okay. So we're going to talk about a few things, and I want to make sure you understand what we covered last week. So last week we talked about the importance of cheek weld and the process that I call drop, drive, pull, press. So who can remind me, maybe by typing into the comments, what drop, drive, pull, press stands for? Drop, drive, pull, press. What am I dropping, driving, pulling, and pressing? Let's see if someone remembers that in the comments. But before we talk about that, or let me see what kind of answer I get. Let me talk real quickly about cheek weld, which is part of that drop, drive, pull, press. Understand that when you're shooting a long gun, right, your cheek weld is the key to speed. Having your cheek in a position where you can see the optic is the key. So the faster I get this stock in place, the faster I get the gun in place, where my cheek is in a consistent spot that allows me to see and aim the firearm, the faster I'm going to be able to fire that shot, right? When we're talking about, shooting any gun, whether you're shooting, a PCC or you're shooting, boom, a handgun, the process is always the same. Stop the gun on target as much as needed. Verify the alignment of the gun, whatever the gun is, the handgun or the PCC or the rifle, and then fire the gun without moving it out of the area you're trying to aim at. And when I say stop the gun on target as much as necessary, that means that the gun can be moving a little bit. One of the things my wise buddy Max Michel said in a podcast interview I did with him a long time ago was, he said, I have the ability to accept more of the dot movement when I'm shooting targets on a stage. So how much movement will translate to a hit in terms of what you're trying to hit? I mean, that's the bottom line. How much movement is allowed? Because the guns will always move. When I'm mounting my PCC in a stage and I'm going pop, 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 the gun is still moving around. Same thing with my handgun. So we need to figure out how much is an acceptable amount of movement and how much is not. All right, looks like Tony got it. Drop the arm, drive the shoulder, pull the gun, and press the cheek. That's exactly right. Tony got it. So someone was paying attention last week. And good morning, Pat from northern Wisconsin. I wonder if it's warming up in northern Wisconsin. Coin number 2446. That is pretty awesome. So as a quick refresher, when I'm talking about dropping and driving and pulling pressure, let's actually do this from the belt, right? So when you do a PCC start, you're probably going to have that stock near your belt area, right? Stock on belt or stock near belt. I'm not sure exactly what the wording is, but it's a very common PCC start. So when I'm working on stock on belt and I'm working on my mount position, if you notice right now, if the camera were my first target, right, I'm going to start out in the position where my feet are nice and wide. I haven't varied my stance from my handgun stance, and I'm going to line that muzzle up with the target. And on the timer, right, I'm going to drive the muzzle straight. So I'm literally going to push the muzzle straight toward the first target. But right now, visually, I can kind of see how my muzzles line up with the target. Now, when I actually mount the PCC on my shoulder, I'm going to drive the gun straight toward the target, and I'm going to come off my body. So let me give you a side view there. I'm going to drive it straight toward the target, literally boom, as fast as I can. And the stock is going to come slightly off my body, right? And then I'm going to make contact with my face. This is that cheek weld that we talked about. And then I'm going to pull the stock back in. So there's a little bit of a gap when I initially mount the rifle or the PCC, where it's off of my body and pull it back in. Now, granted, this is completely dependent on your body size, your clothing. Maybe you're shooting PCC in the winter in Wisconsin, and you need to pull the stock farther off your body. Maybe you're wearing a tactical kit. Maybe you're a law enforcement guy watching this, a military guy, and you have mag carriers or chest rig or whatever else. Well, then you may have to come farther off your body with that stock before you actually find your cheek weld, right? Tony, I see your comment. What did you win? You won a big cookie. We'll send that in the mail tomorrow, right? That's what you won. You won because now you have the knowledge to say on the Facebook what drop, drive, pull, press stands for, okay? So when you're doing this, I'm actually coming off my body. I'm literally driving the muzzle straight out there. I'm coming off my body. I'm making contact with my cheek. That's my cheek weld, because the sooner I get the cheek weld into position, like right now, I can see the dot right now, right now. So while I'm continuing to build the rest of the mount, right? So there's the dot. So I'm still building the mount, but I've already found the dot, right? So I could be settling the dot and doing what I need to fire that first shot, okay? So that is. Now, as a reminder, and then we'll get into some Q&A. When I say drop, drive, pull, press, I'm dropping the elbow, driving the shoulder into the gun, pulling the stock into my chest, and pressing my cheek well down into the stock. By pressing my cheek down to the stock, it stabilizes it a little bit more. Also, by the way, if you're not doing this with your rifles, if you're a guy in the law enforcement, military, and you're at that low ready position, this other thumb should always, always, always ride that safety. If it's not riding the safety, you're missing part of the technique. Okay, so it's riding the safety. So when I drive the gun into position, you hear that click, I'm automatically wiping the safety off. Okay, hey, 74 live viewers, which is not bad, but it's not 150 like I want to. Let's at least break 100. So if you haven't clicked share, I know it takes some effort, but it's part of the, it's a free live stream. So at least bring more people on it for me. What do we have here? Yale from Israel. Hi, good morning, Yale. Do you feel when you drive the PCC that way, it is a bit off position for the shoulder, meaning less control while shooting? So yeah, when I'm driving the PCC in a position, it's coming straight out, but then the stock goes as centered as possible. So let me get in front of the camera. I'm not sure if you can tell, my stock is not out here. The more my stock is out on my shoulder here, right, the more leverage the rifle or the PCC has against me. The more centered the stock is, the more my body weight is controlling the recoil, right? So it's super important that you understand that the proper stock position is the key. So I want to make sure when I do this, when I drive this up into position, right, maybe understand my foot position is dependent on what I'm doing, right? There's not a perfect foot position. My feet are generally wider than shoulder width. My right foot is probably slightly behind my left foot, right? But if I'm using a position where I'm going to have to mount the PCC and step to the right and lean to the right around a barricade, well, then my right foot would be forward, right? So my foot position is going to be dependent on what I'm doing or what I'm about to do. But no, Yale, I drive that PC in the stock as center line as I can, but it's still on the side of my face, if that makes any sense to you, okay? And Alan, you're driving more in the chest instead of the shoulder. Yes, right? So when I'm doing this, I make contact with my chest. See if you can see this. It's not, in the pocket of the shoulder. I'm not doing the bladed off, wing shooting, because it's simple physics. Think about it. The gun recoils like this. Boom, 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 right to the rear, right? The more the gun is farther out of my body, the more it has the ability to turn my body, right? So if the stock is too far out during the recoil, that's the direction the gun's going to move. I know I'm exaggerating that a little bit, probably because I want you to see it better on camera, and mostly because I'm amped up on coffee right now. You're welcome, Yale. Okay. Moving the gun to the head. Yeah. So Tony says the same thing. Absolutely crazy important that when I'm moving the PCC or rifle around, it goes to my face, right? Whether it's stock on belt, it goes to my face, or stock over shoulder, right? Or in a position where I'm searching and I bring the gun up, it's always going to my face. I'm not going, bring it here, bring the head down, bring it in here, turtleneck the head, right? I want to bring the gun to my face as much as possible. Yes, I'm driving my cheek into it. Of course, drop, drive, pull, press the cheek into the gun. That's the press, right? Anywho, there you go. Let me see what else I have as far as questions. Randy says, coffee is good. Yes. Tracy, yes, coffee is awesome. I love coffee. Hey, Guatemala, Pablo from Guatemala. That's awesome. Edward says, Facebook is fighting you as you try to share. That's irritating. That's not good. Maybe eventually we'll go live on something off Facebook, right? Because everybody is on this thing right now watching me. We could be live on a web page as well. Okay, so I don't see any other questions. So we talked about the drop, drive, pull, press. So what I want to talk real quickly about is movement, meaning when we would pull the stock off of our shoulder and when we wouldn't. And that's the first thing you have to consider. If you're breaking down a stage, and let's say, I got to stay on the camera here. So let's say I just finished, boom, 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 shooting a couple targets here. The next position is a port. Let's say it's 2 or 3 steps to my right. In that situation with the port 2 or 3 steps to my right, do I break the stock off my shoulder and then remount it? Or do I leave the stock on my shoulder? And my general rule is, if the next position is 2 or 3 paces away, I'm going to keep the PCC mounted in the shoulder and I'm going to drive it into position. So I'm never going to leave the position where the stock is on my shoulder and my face is generally behind the optic. I will, in fact, take my eyes right and look to the next position. But if you watch this, maybe I'm finished shooting here. When I drive, I'm literally pulling and driving the PCC in the direction I'm going. So let's say the next port was right here. Just memorize that position right there, right? When I'm getting over there and I'm finishing this target, boom, 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 I'm going to drive over here. So all I'm doing is I'm literally driving the gun. I'm stepping with my right foot, right? And then I'm coming into position. You're going to say, well, Mike, what about your footwork? Here's the deal. Your feet will know what to do. You've been moving. I need to move over here, catch a ball, catch a baseball. I need to move over here, catch a football, catch a basketball, or catch an Oreo cookie somebody threw at me because I want to eat an Oreo cookie. You know how to move, right? But the principle I want you to stick to is keeping those feet shoulder width apart and the feet angled or positioned so you could put your body weight where you need to. So if I'm driving the gun, for example, after I fire here, boom, to the right, my right foot went forward because I'm leaning slightly to the right. Let's say I'm on that right fall line now, right? Versus the left fall line. Okay, so 2 to 3 steps. Yeah, Phil Strader's on. Good morning, Phil Strader. 2 to 3 steps is short movement. You don't necessarily want to pull the stock off your shoulder. And I'm not saying you can't keep the stock there and kind of get loose and get your face off the gun and find the next target. But I don't want to have to go through the process of doing this again, right? Once I found my cheek weld, I'm much faster if I maintain that cheek weld. It may not feel as fast, but it's going to be faster because there's less movement of the gun. You don't have to find that cheek weld again, okay? And, wow, we got a lot of people on. So there's another social media in the works. Tracy, there is one in the works. Yeah, it's called Livefire, but I don't have the ability to go live on Livefire yet. And by the way, Phil Strader's going to jump on Livefire today too. And he's going to start logging his dry fire and live fire training sessions. And then I'm going to log mine, and we're going to race to the single stack nationals where he's going to try to kick my butt and I'm going to try to kick his butt. Okay, we can make this a multi-month training race, Phil Strader. There's your challenge for you. All right, I don't see any other comments or questions. By the way, I do actually. Sorry, Mark Rudell. So, what length do we adjust the length of the stock to? So my rule is, if you can see this, I'm going to pull the stock all the way out. The more extended the stock is for my arm length, the farther the gun is away from my body and the more leverage I have here. So for example, from this position, I'm stronger at an extended position pulling the gun into me than I am in a compressed position. I see a lot of folks do this kind of stuff, right? Because I saw it on a Navy SEAL movie or whatever, right? And the SEALs I trained with didn't chew like this. They were actually extending the handguns or whatever else, right? So this is a very weak position, right? We did a tug of war from here and you grabbed the front of my gun and pulled it. It'd be very easy for you to pull it off my body. However, if we did a tug of war from here, it'd be a lot harder for you to pull that gun. So my recommendation, Mark, is you extend the stock as far as you can, which creates a little bit more distance between your body and the pistol grip. That's going to make you stronger on the gun itself. Okay. Okay. So where was it? All right. So we talked about short movement. I finished here, drive the gun over here, short movement. Okay. Short movement, angle forward, short movement, angle forward. That what doesn't matter. It's still short movement. So what if it's more than 3 steps-ish? If it's more than 3 steps-ish, then I'm probably going to take the stock off my shoulder. Now there are a couple different methods. Let me see what Phil Strader said. Good question. So Phil Strader said, well, how much is my left hand involved in pulling the gun into my center line? The reality is both hands are pulling the gun into center line. Meaning when we say drop, drive, pull, press, drop, drive, pull, press, maybe I think Mike Pannone said it like this. So I'm stealing it from him, but I'm not sure if it was Mike Pannone, a former SF guy. He's talking about a tug of war. Like if you were in a tug of war, we're pulling the gun into your body. Now, I am probably pulling the gun in slightly more with my lead hand, my front hand, but in reality, I'm pulling the gun in with both hands and compressing that stock against my chest, okay? Because that's going to control the recoil better. The bottom line is the tighter this stock is to my chest, my big old muscle chest here, the more solid the contact's going to be. It would be like if you took this gun and you shot it and you mounted it against, a brick wall, the gun wouldn't move very much. Or if you took a pillow between it and shot it, the gun would move a lot. So what you want to do by pressing the gun or pulling the gun into you with both hands, right? Okay, and so I'm also using my hand as well, right? That's going to really help you control the recoil. Okay. Yeah. So, man, Yale. And Phil said, I honestly don't know. You've heard both. Yeah. I have, when I played with it, I found, it's like when we grip the gun, Phil and I used to teach class together with a handgun. We used to say like 60, 40 and law enforcement, all these things. In reality, I think we just grip the gun hard with both hands. I don't think there's a lot of separation in the pressure. I think the same thing when you're shooting. Like right now, I can feel myself gripping with the pistol grip and pulling with this hand as well, right? It's actually a great question. How do you answer questions like that? Is maybe what we should be saying here on the Facebook live stream. You do it by shooting. You shut. So for me, the one of the main drills I like, right? It's a drill and it's a test at the same time. Is to set a still plate up at about 40 yards or 50 yards at a distance where if you don't have what I call positive neutral control on the long gun, right? You'll move the gun off target. And then I want you to practice mounting, drop, drive, pull, pressing on 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Maybe initially it's 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 5. And pick the pace up and go faster and faster and faster and faster. And see if you can get to the point where you're pulling the trigger almost as fast as you can. And the positive control, meaning you're positively controlling the recoil of the rifle or the carbine. And neutral means you're not driving it off in a direction. And then play with different things. Maybe completely relax your shooting hand, your grip hand here, and pull with the other hand. Pop, 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 pop. See what happens. Then pull with the other hand. So now I'm going to pull with the right hand and relax with the lead hand. Watch the gun. Here's the tip of the day, Facebook watchers. The gun, whether it's a PCC or the handgun, will tell you everything you need to know. When it recoils, it will tell you exactly what you're doing right or wrong in terms of your position and pressure on the firearm. That's it. Just shoot the gun. That's all you got to do, right? Hey, and speaking of shooting guns, how about someone click that share button? We're almost at 100. Let's at least hit 100 today. I don't have Mr. Rich Brown helping me today. And if I don't hit 100, I'm going to be embarrassed, right? Please share twice. So Alan says, when I drop the stock in my chest, I notice more of the toe stock. Absolutely, Alan. Positively, completely correct. The toe of the stock is making the most contact of my body, not the whole stock itself. Okay, so I'm really driving the toe of the stock in the gun. There's actually a group that made these stocks, I think they still do, that they rounded the bottom toe off, which is probably pretty smart. I don't know if that's the best position, right? And what they did a bit, back in the day for plate carriers and vests and whatever else, and it gave a better mount. But yes, I am mounting and feeling more contact with the toe of the firearm itself. Okay. Hey, Albert from the Philippines. Good morning. Oh, sorry. And Yale, I forgot to answer your question. I got distracted. I'm like a chipmunk on a crack. So say your questions multiple times. And guess what? It's you get what you pay for. Hey, it's free, right? You get what you pay for. I shouldn't say that because I think what I'm saying is somewhat valuable. So the lead hand, Yale, is in a position where it's as strong as possible. I know for a fact I'm not able to control the front of the gun back here. I also know that if I take, some of the three gunners, they're extending the hands like way out here. The arm is hyperextended. So I don't feel like I have a lot of strength out here either. So I'm about midway between where I have a little bit of bend in my elbow, but my arm feels strong. I feel like I could pull the gun into me. I feel like I could move the gun very, very quickly. So there's, that's a position as well you want to play with. This is probably too close. This is probably too far. I found midway is about right. And remember, everything that I do, hey, we just hit 103 live viewers. That makes me really happy, Facebook people. You just made me happy. I'm super happy. I'm going to have a great day now. My lead hand position also, folks, and Yale, is such that with my defensive rifle, my thumb would be riding the pressure pad for my light, right? So it has to be somewhat the same position for me, okay? Yeah, Jason Brown says, you guys got this for free. Yeah, Jason, sorry, man. We've been paying, Jason's been sending like $1,000 a month for this stuff. It's worth every dime though, right, Jason? Hello, Brian from Dayton, Ohio. Awesome. Nice to have you on. Great. You're welcome, y'all. Okay, so let's get back into it. So movement. I got distracted again. So we talked about short movement. So anytime I move more than 3 steps, the stock is going to come off my shoulder. So here's the question for you. Here's what you have to decide. When I move to the next position, does the stock come off my shoulder and goes over my shoulder? Or does the stock come off my shoulder and go under my shoulder, right? Is there a right and a wrong answer? And I don't think there is necessarily. And here's the deal. For me, I tend to like the over-the-shoulder position. So I'm literally going to take the gun and I'm driving the stock in the direction I'm moving. So if I'm moving to the right, I'm going to drive the stock in that direction, and I'm going to keep the stock just over my shoulder. Right? So now I can swing my arms, I can run, and then to remount the gun, I'm simply going to slide the stock into position. Now, when I'm going right to left, that was left to right movement. When I'm going to right to left, it completely changes. Because if I take that position and I go over my shoulder and I run, man, if that's the 180 line, I'm really close to it, right? So while you can do that over your shoulder, you've got to deliberately keep the muzzle downrange. Another way you can do this is on my right to left motion, right? Okay, as I finish firing that shot, I'm actually going to go under my shoulder, right? And now I can swing my arms. So I'm using the shoulder, my arm, to control the rifle. So I can literally run as hard as I can, but the muzzle is more in a safe direction. And when I come in the next position, right, I just drive into position. So my answer is on one direction. Oftentimes I'll go over the shoulder, right? On the other direction, I'll go under the shoulder and run if I have a far run. Now, by the way, I see a couple of questions. I'll get to those in a second. Guys like Josh Freilich, huge, muscular, strong. I literally, when I watch him move, he just goes, the gun's out here and he swings the whole thing, right? I can do that. I'm strong enough, but I'll tell you, tore a rotator cuff on my right shoulder a couple of years ago. I could not do that anymore. So I started, I'm like, how do I figure this out? So I started taking the gun and tucking it. And I'm just going to take it and tuck it over my shoulder. So now my whole body, right? This is just a pivot point here. My whole body is controlling the PCC. So that's where I started going under the shoulder. If you're strong enough just to run and just run like this, go for it, right? But I don't know. That probably is not a functional position for most people. Okay. Okay, so Joey has a question about offset. We'll talk about that in a second. Yeah, Bob says you would have 130, but Sanchez is lagging. You're right. Edward Sanchez, come on, man. Share for us. Can you please? Can you talk support hand, elbow, tuck to chick? Oh, great question. So this elbow, right? Is it tucked down? Is it up here? For me, it's in a natural position. It actually mimics where my elbows are with a handgun. This is my natural arm and elbow position, which also puts the palms into position to control the recoil. So if I take my handgun stance and I move one hand forward and one hand back, watch my elbows. They're about the same, right? They don't change a lot. But I don't do a lot of this. I'm not opposed to it, like that counter rotation. Maybe it offers some recoil control. I haven't found it to be consistent. My elbow position is just kind of this where it's natural and strong. I don't feel like I'm strong here. This is a bad position for my shoulder, and I don't have the energy or strength to drop the elbow down. Now, I'm not saying when we come around cover for defensive or CQB or whatever else, we should be tucking the elbow, and we should be modifying this position a little bit to be protecting our body and maximizing the technique as much as we can with protection from incoming fire. So you're gonna have to think those things through. It's a little different than the competitive context. Press Andy says works good. Left hand be positioned on a carbine length upper. So when you say left hand, Randy, I think you're talking about your support hand. And I just talked about that. So when you get a chance, just go back. I will tell you once again, too close and weak, too far out and not as strong. So I find a position somewhere midway where I can still pull the gun into my chest and I can still drive the rifle to the left and right. Okay. But that's something position. And like I said, experiment with that. Set up a target a long ways away and play with that. Okay. So, So Tracy has a question. A bunch of you have a question on the lean. So let's talk about the lean real quick. So set up my prop here. All right. Look at this. Not only do I bring hopefully good content for you, but I bring it and I bring props too. It's all right. We had like 103 on, so the 23 people that jumped off don't get this secret. Here's the secret of the day. All right, so here's your question. Let me get from my prop. When do we switch shoulders? When do we switch shoulders? And I'm going to show you right now, if I can. Mark Ruddle, I don't train with a sling on the PCC for competition purposes. Mr. Mark, but next week on defensive rifle, jump on and join me. We're starting the defensive rifle training program. I will, in fact, cover sling selection and the sling I use, which is not the sling I recommend for all purposes, but it's the sling I use and how I train with a sling on the defensive rifle. But for the context of PCC, it doesn't fit. We don't sling, we don't transition for normal USPSA or IDPA PCC. Okay. Okay, so let's talk about this real quick. So in terms of this position, right, I'm going to have you imagine there's a fault line on the left-hand side of the position, right? So I'm going to show you a little trick, right? So that's the camera that I'm pointing to. So what I want to do is I want to show you how I get around farther shooting positions on a left side lane with the gun on my right shoulder, okay? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to set my foot up. My left foot is on the fault line right now. My upper body is upright. You can see the muzzle of my rifle. So I can shoot a target there. Boom, 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 boom. That's about as far as I can get, okay? I cannot aim at the camera. I can't aim at the camera with my foot. Now, I'm not going to move my feet at all, okay? My feet are going to stay in the exact same position, but now I'm going to take my elbow and I'm going to point it toward the sky. Oh my gosh, look at that. So I go from a position where I can't shoot the next target. I'm leaning as far as I can. And all I'm going to do is point my right elbow to the sky, right? Boom, there it is. So now I can get to the camera or beyond. So I did this. Boom, 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 boom. Can't get any farther. Let me get more on camera. Can't get any farther. Boom. Okay. Limited. Can't get any farther. Boom, boom, boom. Can't get over there. I'm even leaning as hard as I can. I can't aim at the camera. Elbow up. Boom, boom. So where a lot of people will mount the little optic on the side and put a laser, all that stuff, and then they rotate the gun. That rotation of the gun is the key. For me, it's not the laser, the other optic, and I'm not poo-pooing on the second optic or the laser. It's the rotation of the body that's the key that will allow you to get on there. By the way, this is like a pretty cool little secret tip that only I normally show my members in the membership area, right? The rotation lean, and all I'm doing is I'm taking that right elbow and I'm pointing it toward the sky. right? Boom. You can get another 20% in terms of around the barricade. Now, if I get into a position where I can't aim, I cannot get the dot on the target with the elbow up, right? I can't aim at the camera, right? Then when I come from this position to this position, after I finish firing targets here, boom, I'll switch shoulders, right? So there's your lean. That's how you do it. So I want to talk to you real quick about switching shoulders. I need a prop helper. Okay, so boom, boom, fingers on the trigger because I'm shooting, right? When I go switch, finger comes off the trigger. Watch my finger. Watch it again. Okay, that's my shoulder switch. It's as simple as that. Boom, boom, finger comes off the trigger, boom, boom. Finger comes off the trigger, boom, boom. Okay? Good question. Paul asked, on a hard lane, what does that do with the offset? Well, if you think about this, this is the offset when the gun's straight up and down, right? So what does the offset change when the gun is angled? Yes. So now the offset is to the right. So now the offset is to the left. But the offset would only be relevant in really, really close targets. So if you're leaning that hard to the left and you're shooting a target that's maybe 2 yards away and there's a piece of a hardcover or no shoot, yes, you might have to be aware of that. And the best way to practice that is to set up a target, put a little black square in the center of the target, and shoot. Maybe 3 yards away. Shoot a couple times, see exactly what your offset is, and then take the gun, right, and rotate it. Now fire a shot, okay? And you're going to see, okay, the shot's now slightly to the right. Rotate. Now the shot's slightly to the left. So there is a change in your offset. So great question, Paul. Okay, man. All right, I don't see any other questions. I know Miss Chris with IDPA is helping me share this. We hit 100 people, pretty awesome today. Not 150. I think next week when I'm live at Live Fire, they're going to give away potentially maybe a gift certificate to 511 or something like that. Like maybe a $200 or $300 gift certificate to 511. Wouldn't that be cool? All right, I'm all talked out, folks. That's all I have. We talked about PCC. If you have any last minute questions, throw them up. I will answer them for you today. But I'm going to jump off here in just a second. Been live for almost 45 minutes now. We talked about PCC, a little bit about the gun setup or whatever else, but I covered that mainly last week. So if you missed that, go back to the video for last week and rewatch that. We talked about the drop, dry, pull, press, and how important those things were. We talked about cheek weld. I taught you once again how to switch shoulders. We talked about movement. I talked about short movement into position and long movement as well. Okay, so the difference between short movement, keeping the stock on your shoulder, and longer movement where we're breaking the stock off our shoulder. And I also told you why I might break the stock off my shoulder over the right-hand side when I'm moving left to right. And I might go under my shoulder when I'm moving right to left, but I gave you some options and some ways to think about that. Last but not least, I pulled out my barricade and I showed you how you can maximize your rotation from leaning to position, not being able to see a target, and then rotating that elbow straight up and then building that position. It takes a little bit of core strength and athleticism. Protect your back, be safe, work that slow and deliberate and safe when you do it. And then, of course, also when I would switch shoulders and how I switch shoulders with the PCC. So that's it. So, hey, Jared jumping on. I see you jumping on as well. Okay. I don't see any other questions. It's been an awesome day, folks. I posted some links earlier in the description if you're interested in additional material. Thank you so much for joining me. I do believe Mr. Rich Ryan is going to be live on Friday if he can get his stuff fixed, but I can't guarantee that. If not, maybe I'll have to go live for the Friday morning live stream. Last but not least, yesterday on the live stream, we posted a free 30-day discount code to Live Fire. Right, so that's where I'm actually on logging my daily training sessions or whatever else. They're in version 1. If you haven't seen Live Fire, version 1 is really cool. They're about to release version 2. So in the next couple of days, it'd be a great time to sign up for that 30-day free trial. to check out version 2 when it comes out, which will include the training plan builder and some other features that are going to add to that. So it's a pretty darn neat deal. And next week, I will be live at the Live Fire Studio. We are starting our defensive rifle cycle. So for those of you that are defensive rifle shooters and whatever, take that event, put it on your calendar right now. Grab your phone, grab your iPad, grab your computer, set your calendar. Wednesday, 7:30 a.m. Central next week, defensive rifle live stream with Mike Seeklander. Do that right now. Then take your phone and then share that event a couple times. Please tell some people, hey, put this on your calendar. Jump on and ask some questions, okay? Hey, thank you, Randy, for the comment. I appreciate Randy saying that. This is an excellent instructor. Alan Kelly, 7:30 Central Time on Wednesday. Hey, David asked a question. If you have multiple targets at a position, you'll have to switch shoulders. Do you transfer while moving to position or only on that target? So if you have multiple targets at a position that you will have to switch shoulders, do you transfer while moving or only on that target? So if I understand your question correctly, David, I would always try to transfer shoulders or do any manipulation while I'm moving. So if I can do a load while I'm moving or transfer shoulders while I'm moving, I'm going to do that because I'm doing two things at the same time, right? So if I had an array of targets, but that I had to move on one of them, I would shoot whatever I need to, transfer shoulders, and then shoot that last target that I couldn't see or whatever else. Okay, so be aware of that. Okay, hopefully that answers your question. And that's it, folks. That's all I have in terms of questions. Thank you, folks. Next week, see you. Defensive rifle. Be there, be square. Take care, stay safe. Until then, train hard.